Hi everybody. Welcome. It's Kate Quinn from Fabricated Quilts, and today we're going to do some fun stuff and we're going to share some information about an upcoming project that I have. So we'll just give a second for people to join in. Let's check our sound and our visuals real quick. If you could let me know if everything sounds good, that would be great, because we've definitely had some challenges lately and we want to make sure that we have good sound and good visuals. So, all right. Hi, Karen. Hi, Tony. Hi, Jean, everybody. Denise. How do we sound? Are we good as far as sound and video quality? Everything good? So, let's see. Oh, we got a bunch of people. Okay, let's get started. Let me share a picture. It's kind of big to try to put this up on the screen, so we're going to do it this way with a photo. And here, maybe we'll turn it so you could see it a little better. There, what do you think? Do you guys like that? It's kind of crooked, but we'll just go with it for the moment. Okay, so this is a project that I kind of created it a while back, and I have done a revamp of the instructions and made it a little bit more repeatable. It uses certain different templates, so we'll just really quickly review some of the things that go with it. So I'm going to use my little pointer right here. This is called the, I don't know, sixth finger or something like that. It's just a little stylus with a little sharp point. So obviously right here with this design, we're using the circles on quilts here to create these circles. And then I'm going to show you how you can actually complete a circle with the feather templates. So we're not actually doing that today. I mean, I just want to clarify that what we're doing here is this is a project that you can sign up for. It's coming up on the 17th and I think the 23rd. It's 2 weeks in a row. And if you sign up for just one class, you'll sort of get partial. You'll get half of the blocks. And if you sign up for both classes, we'll be doing all of these blocks. And I have a handout that comes with it that when you sign up for the class, it gives you your fabric requirements for all of the cover, strips, these pieces, and all of your sashing, and how big all of these are in order to cut everything and participate in the class. And there'll be some information about the markings as well, because you'll want to do that before the class. And then on the 17th, we'll start working on it and we'll do half of the blocks. And then on the last part of it, we'll do the other half and we'll do the sashing. Some of the blocks are easier. I think these are the D blocks right here. These are pretty easy and they go really quickly. So we'll be doing some of the more complicated ones. This is a little more complicated. This one is a little more complicated. And surprisingly, this one is too. So what we want to do is just let you know what is part of this and what tools you might need. So in order to make this arc right here, the inner arc is made with the 12-inch arc. So I tried to give you some tools that you might already have. So it's not that you have to buy every single thing. Obviously, you're going to want to buy the entire feather set if you want to participate in this class, because that is the star of the show. And we're going to show you a lot of different ways that you can use that and get tremendous value out of it. So with this, the learning technique is how do we go around the corner and how do we fit these shapes into a channel? So I'm going to show you how to make this orange peel. And then actually, this part is a little tricky. There's a couple different ways that we can echo this, because by the time you echo this first echo, this is bigger than the 12-inch arc. So we have to fudge it a little bit. And then this particular design I said was a little more complicated. This one is 4 quadrants. And so you're making this heart and you're filling up this triangle right here. And then I'll show you how to make them match so that you can have this mirror image right here. So then on the circle, you can use any different size circle and this will still work. So that is one of the important things that we want to share with you, is how you can fit these in and adjust for them and make them work. So you guys, I'm going to comment really quickly. I see that we have somebody posting some spam links in our chat. You don't have to sign up for anything. Now you can sign up for that class. We'll post the link in the header of this post. Stacy Louie, the owner of So Steady, is posting that for where you can get more information. Please do not follow any of these spammers because they are not connected to us. And so don't click on any of those. Only click on the link that I give you that is from Stacy Louie or that is in the header of the post, okay? And then right here you can see this is our rope template. And this is the 1.5 rope template. And that's because these end up being about 2 inches wide when they're all stitched in. Nancy, I don't think it's me because my picture is super crystal right now. So maybe it's the transmission because I have really fast internet and I don't see any lag right now. So maybe if you try to hit refresh, maybe that'll be a little bit better for you. So I want to show you something really quickly on this picture. Do you guys see? I'm going to point right here. 1, 2. What's wrong? Does anybody see what's wrong with those 2 things? If you do, I'll give you a high five. So the rope templates, they are directional, and you wouldn't think that they are, right? But look at how this one is kind of wrapping in this way, and look at how this one is wrapping the other way. So when I put these all together, I want to make sure that I keep them all the same direction just because I think that will look better. You can see that these other ones are all going the same way. So what are we going to talk about today since we already showed you this, right? So the pattern is about 23 pages. If you sign up for both classes, I am offering to give you the pattern for free. If you only sign up for one of the classes, then I request that you purchase the pattern separately because that's just the way that, I will get paid for my work. So I hope you can appreciate that I put a lot of time into this to make it just right. Yeah, a couple of you guys got it. These little feathers, the little ropes are opposite. So here, this is 1.5. You can do any border treatment that you want that is 1.5. So if you have any different things on your own template collection that is 1.5 that sews out as a border and you want to use that, you can use that. I'm going to use the rope just because I like it. I think it looks good. So what is all of this little weird stuff right in here? Let me grab some of that for you so we can show you. So this is Quilt As You Go. Okay, so we're taking those pieces and we're going to stitch a little sashing right there and put these pieces together, and then the last piece of the sashing will fold over and it'll cover the edge. Let's see if I can show you the edge. See if I can find the edge. Oh, I did a good job. I can barely see it. Right there, see? But look, you can barely see that. It looks really good. And I'm going to show you how we can put these little finishing top stitch in here if you want to. You could do this with your ruler, and I'm going to show you how, or you can wait until the end and then you can do it with your walking foot or some kind of a top stitch foot and get right along the edge there. So the finished project, oh, that is such a good question. It's not very big, Peggy. I'll have to find that. I don't know if I actually measured it. It's about 22-ish by something. It's not that big. It's designed as a technique lesson to help you be able to do more with your feathers. So, we're trying to make it not fabric intensive so that you can focus on the learning aspect of it and not have a big expensive requirement with a lot of fabric. And we want something that you can finish quickly, within the concept of the 2 classes and maybe a little bit of information that we're going to give out here and then maybe some time on your own. So that's why we are not making this gigantic. Okay, so what I'm going to show you is how I do all of this, how I do this closure and how I join these pieces. There's lots of different ways to do it. Mine is not the only way, but it's a way. And if you like it and you feel like it's useful, then that's what we're going to share. So let me get a few things ready so that I can show you. We are going to use our little stylus. Here are two items. So when you sign up for the class, what you will get from me is a short handout that has all of the templates required and which ones are optional and which ones are not optional. You'll get all of the fabric requirements and the block cutting. There isn't a single template set. I think, let's see, I just saw a question, so I gotta go back. Ooh, those spammers are really, really active. It's so irritating, huh? Bonnie Turunsky, I hope I said your name right, asked if you would be able to rewatch the class. It'll be the same format as what we've done in the past, where you can watch it for 4 weeks. And the classes are 2 classes and they're a week apart. So there's not a big time lag in between for those. So you'll be able to, complete them in a relatively easy time frame. Has anybody seen either of these tools before? Do you guys know what these are? Both of these are from Clover. And this right here is called a Hera Marker, or kind of like a revised Hera Marker. And let me show you, it's very, very skinny right here. And it has almost a really, really sharp, fine point right there. And what that does is I can actually score my fabric and make it turn more easily. So this is one tool that you can use. And this is called Fabric Folding Pen. And both of these are products that Clover makes. And I can score the fabric with this folding pen, and I can turn my 1/4 inch seam allowance over. So I'm going to just grab my fabric real quick so I can show you. All right, here we go. So I'm going to bring it up a little bit close to the camera so you can see. So right here, this edge is just set right against the seam right here. There's nothing. It's not folded, it's not sewn yet or anything. I'm going to show you how to sew it. And when we're doing this quilt as you go method, we need a cover sash for both sides. But this right here, this little piece, notice how it's folded over nicely at 1/4? The reason that I want to do that is when I have to flip it over, I want to be able to know that I know what this 1/4 inch is so that I can line it up neatly like we showed you. And that other black piece that we have, I'm going to pull that fabric over and I'm going to line it up right on that stitch line, and then I can stitch it in right there. So this is how we're going to be able to get this nice clean finish on these little guys. So I'm going to show you really quick on some fabric what that looks like. So if this is my piece, this is my cover, it's one of them. And what I can do is I'll just lay it down on your cutting mat. You want something with a little bit of give. This is kind of hard to do it. So let's see if I can grab my little cut mat. So I had to have the iron handy today too, so that's why this is kind of tricky. So I'll just put this up here, and I can just use the ruler. And notice how we said one side is going to lay right against the edge. I'll just show you real quick one more time so you can make the connection. Right here, this edge doesn't need a fold. We only need it on one side from each of them. And so what we'll do is we're just going to put our ruler right up against it. So this is a 1 inch piece, and we want the 1/4 inch. So I'm going to lay it on the 3/4 right here, and I'll take the Hera marker, and I'm going to just score the edge of this with a little bit of pressure, and then I would just move this down and do the whole thing, do the whole piece. So is this some extra work? Yeah, sure it is. But this way I can make sure that I know where my 1/4 inch is. I can turn it more easily and make it really accurate. And, the whole thing is work either way. You're going to have to turn this fabric no matter what. So why not do it and make it as precise as you can? So if I use that Hera marker, you can see I can just fold this over and I can just press that with my fingers as we go. And it'll turn really easily. You get a really nice, clean look to it right there. And then what I'll do is I will press that with the iron to set that. And we only have to do that on one side. So I was a little overzealous. I actually did it on both sides, but this side is actually going to be sewn to the other piece. And it'll be lined up right on the edge of the other piece. So you only have to do this on one side of the cover stitch for each piece. You don't have to do it on both sides. All right, so let's go down. Let's make sure we're getting these questions answered. All right, so Henny's not here today, so I'm kind of working this myself, so I feel like I'm tap dancing a little bit, but hopefully it's good. This does the same thing. This is a little bit of a oil. It's not oily, it's just like it's got a little texture right there. I don't know if you can see it's shiny right there. So what it does, it just kind of makes the fabric a little softer and yielding right there. And so what you can do with this is you can then also mark that 1/4 inch if you wanted to do that. So what was a good idea? Did I miss it? Di, what's your good idea? I can't see it. Oh, so Di, are you commenting on the hot hammer? So let me see, I have that too. Okay, well Di, you asked, and I'm gonna mention that because I do have that hot hammer right here. Look, see, I got it. So what she's saying is, could I take this and just press up a 1/4 inch right here along the hot hammer? This is a great tool, but that 1/4 inch is very, very small seam allowance, and the width of this is kind of fat. You could, but you're not going to be as accurate if you use the hot hammer because that is so thick. There's some body here that's going to take up some of that seam. You could play with it and maybe shorten it a little bit. That might work. So that could be a good option for you. This is something that you can use with heat. And that's something that's great for hemming. Like you can literally fold your hem up onto this ruler and press it and it won't damage this because it's designed for heat. So thank you, Di. That was a good thought. And a good question because I did try that. I wanted to do that, but it didn't work as well because it's a little too thick. But that's a great question. So, okay, so let's go ahead. So I showed you this piece is really long because this is kind of later in the process. But let's go ahead and put a couple of these pieces on. And I'm going to talk about some things that I've built into the pattern that I want to share with you really quickly. So I need my ruler back. And I'm going to show you something really fast. Okay, so I want you to see how big that piece is. That is 2 3/4 wide, right? But the rope is the same as the other piece. Look at this. This piece is 2 1/2. Why are they different, right? That's so weird. Why are they different? What's wrong with this person? Okay, so let me explain. When I put this piece together, this piece right here is the outer border piece. The binding will go on to that. So I want a little bit of a wider binding right here. And that's because I'm going to put a 1/2 inch binding. So in the little sample that I shared with you, I'm going to pull that back out. When we sew this together, this ends up to be about a 1/2 inch. It's not a 1/4 inch, right? Because we sewed the 1/4 inch seam on both sides, but the 1/2 inch is visible on the top. So I've engineered the project so that all the pieces that touch the outside edge will have an extra 1/4 inch right on the outer edge so that you can use a matching 1/2 inch binding for the project. Because I think that when I did it before, I didn't really factor all of that in, and then I had a 1/4 inch on the outside and a 1/2 inch on the inside, and I didn't like it. So I've adjusted it so whenever you're putting pieces together, your piece that's the outermost edge is going to have a 1/4 inch added in so that you can have that matching binding. Okay, so we've got these two. So let's start putting these pieces together. I have to stitch this piece first, and we're going to use our Sashly template to do that. So let me show you. I'm constantly juggling things around here so that I can get them out of the way. All right, here we go. I have a new glass floor mat and my rolly chair rolls away. And it's kind of annoying and funny. Let's adjust our camera so we can get in a little closer to the foot here. There we go. How's that? Good enough for you guys? Can you see well? All right. I always feel like I'm rushing, right? You know, take a breath. It's okay. These are already seated in place. Notice that I don't have any pins or anything like that. Here's what I did. I took this product right here. This is called Roxanne glue based. And I put little dots right along, little tiny dots. I'll show you on here how it looks. Like it would be within the seam allowance. You'd be just putting a little dot right there. Like this. And just a couple of them down the line, right? And then I took that little sashing strip and I laid it right along the edge. So it'd be just, you know, like laying it right there with your little folded edge on the outer part, not touching the edge. And you just line that up. And I touched this up with a hot iron, just to make the glue dry, not a steam iron, because this is water-based product, so that we don't want any water on it. And what that's going to do is going to hold this in place while we sew it with the ruler so that everybody will stay in place and not shift down as we sew. But once we set it up with the ruler, there's one thing we don't have right here is we have to have some partner on this side to bump the ruler up so it's level. So I'm just going to use this little partner right here to help me out. So the foot is the 1/2 inch. So let's go ahead and get our needle kind of down to the end, and we want our foot touching right there. We're sewing at a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to pick up my thread. As long as I'm in the seam allowance up here, that's all I need. I need to be just a little bit so that the foot is fully on there, but I just want to be a little bit onto the seam allowance. I don't want to be, oh, darn it. Those darn bobbin threads, they're so annoying. All right, let's pick him up more gently and then maybe he'll behave. All right, here we go. So I'm going to get my foot set right in position and I want to put the ruler on. So this ruler is going to be really useful for us for this because we can even sew our binding on because it has a 1/2 inch seam allowance. We just shift it down and align it. This could be so awesome. All right, let's put this on. And right now when I line it up, I kind of want to, like I said, get down to the end there, get down to the back where our bobbin was picked up. This edge right here needs to be aligned right on the edge of our fabric. So let's get this under there so we can get a little help. I guess we have to get this up. We need this guy to be there. He's going to have to move down with us, and now we can get lined up. Okay? Now, does this seem complicated? It's not complicated. I'm just making it look complicated, I think. What can happen, though, is I can have all these pieces lined up, and I can sew all of these that need this. And I don't need necessarily a big strip to get everything lined up, but if I have it, that's okay. And if my batting is really, really thick, here's one thing that you could do. You could actually just move over maybe a tiny bit so that we can really see the edge here, and that can be your scant right there if you need a scant seam allowance. So let's sew. So right here, let me show you one more thing with my little pokey guy. The reason we need him is we're just going to use this to kind of feed a little bit in case the fabric is tricky. We don't want it snow plowing out in front of us. So then I'll just move this down. See, he can even move down with us. And we're going to get him lined up just the same. Another thing that you can do is if it's really snow plowing in here, we actually have quite a few layers. So if it's really a problem, like it's bowing the fabric, I would just lower the foot, raise it up a little bit out of the way. That'll give you some more height to work with so that it's not doing that. As long as you can stitch cleanly, you're good to go. Okay, so let's scoot down. We'll line it up, and right here, make sure he's behaving. And here you could even, do a little tack if you want to. So I can literally just kind of scoot this over and we can just go right to the other side, and I can get both sides aligned right away. So let's get this in there. This is the helper. This is helping to make sure that the ruler is going to stay level, and I can look right here and keep this lined up so that I can have everybody aligned. The other thing that you're checking, and this is just a reminder from before, is make sure that your foot, let's cut these little threads so they won't bother us. I'll just cut these off. Okay. Anybody know the ruler name, the feed tool name? Yes, the feed tool name, you're talking about this? This is the 6th finger stiletto. It's available from lots of different quilt stores. And this is the Sashly, this is the 3-inch Sashly template, okay? So I'm lining this right up on the edge, and I can shift it down. It's just up to me, however I want to. So I'm looking to get myself right on the edge there, make sure my foot is right on the edge. So I'm checking the foot alignment with the edge of the fabric and the ruler, both of them. Then I'll just get myself tacked in there, and I can just do some quick tacking stitches, and right at the beginning you may need some feed. Another thing that you can do that will help make this start easier is put a little leader up at the top, and then you won't have as much trouble. That'll give you something that is out beyond the foot that will help you feed that real quick. So let's make sure I'm getting my fabric in. All right, and then we'll just scoot it down, get lined up right on the edge of our fabric. So you can see once it's a little bit inside the foot, it is easier, gets going much more smoothly. So that's why I would do like all the pieces that I have all at once. So I even have some other pieces of this, and I would just do all of them that are already prepared. So I prepared all of the pieces like this. I'm going to go ahead and take it out. I'm going to just show you my 1/4 inch and show you how easy it is. Yes, thank you, Jane. The Clover folding fabric pen. And it comes with the little oil solution or whatever. I don't know what it is, but it kind of feels oily. But it doesn't leave any residue on your fabric. So here's what we got. That's our 1/4 inch right there. Looks pretty good. As we bring it up a little bit, it looks like it bows, but it doesn't. It's pretty straight. So we'll cut these off, and I'm going to show you real quick what we're going to do now. So this particular piece, we said, you know, one side is connected to the wider sash and then the other side isn't. So both of these, I told you I folded these, but we don't need that. So I'm going to press one of these open. Okay, and my quilt is 100% totally reversible, so it doesn't matter which side. But I've got my iron right here, so let me press that. All right, so I was a little bit overzealous. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna do all these Clover things and I'll get them all out of the way. I didn't need to. Okay, so I only need this piece, right? Leave this piece that is folded, leave him tucked out of the way. He's perfect where he is. This piece right here, you can go ahead and press this if you want to. You want to get that seam open, so you can just use your little press bar or use your iron, and you're gonna lay this right on here like this. Right? So this is where I would use that glue. So let's go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you how that is. Somebody just asked me to, okay, so let's talk about this for a second. I want to get both of these pieces. Let's make sure that this outer wider edge is on the outside. Okay, so when we sew this, this part is the outside. So I want to just make sure that I'm going to get this on the correct side. It's going to go like this, and this side will fold out like that. So I want to put my little dots on this side. Somebody just asked about the Sashly template. There's the LSLQ Sashly template, which is a 6-inch, and that is based on the 1/4 inch spacing. But there are several other ones that we have that are in different spacing. Like you can get a 1/2 inch Sashly template that's going to automatically sash at a 1/2 inch. And you can also get one that is 1 inch. Oh, let's see if I can bring this up here so we can see it a little better. See that little bit of glue right there? And I'm just gonna kind of line that up and get these little edges right there. Because the glue doesn't set super quickly, I have the ability to kind of adjust a little bit if I need to, and then I'll set it with the iron and make it, you know, stay. So we'll kind of put it down here so I can get it all adjusted on there. Just give it a little tug right here so it's right in line. All right, and then I will go ahead and hit that with my iron, but you can see it's all lined up right on the edge there. If it was sticking up too much, I could make a little adjustment. And if your batting is really thick, then that's when you want to take into account whether you would have maybe a little scant quarter, because this 1 inch piece is very small. So you don't want to be taking a little bit too big seam allowance, because then this little fold is not going to cover the rest of it. So Karen, the glue that I used is Roxanne glue based. Right? I use it for lots of different things. It's so useful. Great for applique and everything. Comes off really easy, doesn't leave anything. If you just get it wet, it'll open right up. Super easy to use. So let me just hit that with the iron real quick, get it all set in place. The purpose of that glue is now I don't have any pins in here that are going to cause me any problems. When I'm stitching with my ruler, I can just sew right down the line. So it's a little bit hot. I just cinched it in place, but you can see it actually will stay. Like if you try to open it, but if I pulled it, it would come apart. All right, you guys, so I'll put the glue in the comments after class. I didn't have that. Mary, if you sign up for the class or if you look at the information that we have, I will go ahead and maybe I'll add the picture of all of the templates in the comment section. So after we get done with class today, I'll actually just take a picture of all of the template requirements and I'll post that in the comments, and that way everybody can see what those are. There's different ways. I could, I'm going to answer, I think, let me see whose question that was. Martha says she has a straightaway template. Could I use my 12-inch arc to do this? Yes. I mean, essentially you could use any straight edge. Literally, I could use this as a straight edge, and I could use the spacing gauge to mark that 1/2 inch right there. See, so here's my 1/2 inch right there, right from the edge. And I could just use that if I wanted to. And that would be another way that you could do it. You don't have to have the Sashly. I do like it, and the reason that we're going to use it is we actually have a 1/2 inch seam for our binding, and then the 1/4 inch seam is the center. So this is going to give us both of what we need for all of our project. So let's go ahead and put a little partner in again, just to keep us in place, and we'll line the foot right up, right there, and pick up that bobbin thread. And if you feel like you can't get everybody set like right at the edge, here's the other thing that you can do. You can start a little bit forward and get lined right up on the edge of the foot, set your needle. Oh, wait a minute. I got too quick. I got to put the ruler in. Okay, here we go. Get this in there. There we go. We got to get him up on there. Get him lined right up on the edge. And then this will help kind of give us that little bit of lift so that the ruler can move smoothly. We can start a little bit down, set your needle. We should be right in place. I'm looking right here, getting everybody lined up. And I could just stitch backwards if I need to. So I guess my ruler needs to go backwards. So if you want to stitch backwards, you can just get that a little bit and get into that seam allowance right there. So I don't know if you could see, I just pulled with my thumb. I could tell that my seam wasn't fitting right here, so I just gave a little tug to get it lined up right there. And then we'll just scoot down, and this little guy, he'll just come with us, and I'll get this lined right up there. Okay, and then I'll just scoot down, and I could just sew right off the edge. if I want to tack it right there just to make it not come out, just make sure you're inside your 1/4 inch seam allowance. Don't sew back so far, because this part right here will be stitched in, so we won't ever see that. It'll be covered up. All right, so let's show you what's next. Ugh. So here's some additional information. When we're working on this, it might be useful for you to use some thread that can hide, and I'll show you why in just a minute, because you're about to see why. All right, so look at what we got. Doesn't that look great? So we're right matched up. This is our 2/4 inch seams right there. And now we're gonna get this folded over, and it's gonna cover that right there. So a matching, what I was talking about is right here, if this thread is the same color as the fabric, then if this doesn't cover exactly perfectly, then that can hide a little better. Another option would be to use a very fine thread. So the thread that I'm using is actually 80 weight Deco Bob, and it's kind of like a medium gray, and that will hide as well too. So that's an idea for you. So what I have to do now is I have to pull this open right here, get this all the way open. So I'm gonna press it with my iron, which is right nearby, and then I'm gonna use that glue and I'm gonna set this closed really quick. So I'll do the glue work in so that you can see it, but I'm gonna press it real fast. Okay, here we go. Hopefully this is interesting. These are just some different tips, like if you've never seen this before, this is an option for something that you can use for any type of quilt as you go. And you can always partial. So here's my 1/4 inch seam allowance right there. And I'm just gonna put these dots right inside the allowance like this. Just make sure it lays down. Don't put a big globby bit on there, try to make it small. And then here I can squeeze all the air out right there, and I can just put this little cap on, and that keeps the rest of this from drying out. Denise has a really good question, and I'm gonna say 100% yes, the answer is yes. She asked, can I hand sew this part to get this closed? Of course you could do that. Am I going to do that? Not on your life. I don't want to. I want it to be done fast and quickly and easily. So that's what we're gonna share today. So right now, the glue isn't dry, but you can see it, it fits very nicely, and I can push it a little bit up right there to make sure that it holds when I heat it with the iron. I can give a little tug so that the glue holds it up a little bit, and it's gonna hold everybody in place. So see right there, I might wanna just kind of give a little smush on the glue when I'm heating it to make this push up a little bit. And then I'm gonna show you how we can stitch this right now with the ruler. All right, here we go. So my thing is, if I can do it all in the same fashion without having to adjust anything or make any changes or anything. So right there, he's not wanting to stay, so I'm gonna put one more little dot of glue, because right up at that area, we certainly want him, because that's the start right there, so he needs to behave. All right, let's get him in place. I can use my little stitch finger, and I can just hold that down and make sure that that's in place right there. So we'll just press that for a minute. It does dry really fast. So right now, the thread that I'm using, this medium gray, we're going to top stitch this into place, right? And this is the side that is folded over, but this side is completed. So you can see how clean it looks on the back. It looks amazing. What I'm gonna do is lay the ruler on the edge, and I'm going to play with the spacing right here in order to top stitch this where I want it. So let's go ahead and do that. So I want my needle to be about right there. So I'm playing with it. So we'll adjust it a little bit. We'll get this lined up right there. So I'm lining this right up on the edge, and I'll put the foot down. And the way that I can adjust it, I've taken off my straight stitch needle plate, and I can adjust the position if I want to. I can shift things over. So if your machine has it where you can adjust your needle position, right or left, then this would be a good time. My machine doesn't have that in the ruler work settings, so I'm actually just going to shift my foot over like that. And I'll put my needle in place and see if I like that right there. And then what I'm going to do is make this the same distance, right? So as I sew down, it needs to be less than 1/4, right? So you can see we're just over the edge. So it's going to sew on the cover stitch part. It's going to sew on this. And since we don't need any spacing right now, everybody's in place. Let's see if we can get this back here. We'll put this back here to help with the spacing. There we go. Oh, come on. It's always trouble at the beginning. So remember what I said? Start with your needle up a little bit and go backwards. I just think that's easier here. We'll go backwards because it's being ornery. It never works when you want it to, huh? All right, we'll just clean that up later. I'm going to go ahead and start down here so we can do it. So this again is when that leader is going to help you. Having a scrappy piece up there is going to make it easier not to have this be the edge right here. So have a little leader up here, a little quilt sandwich leader. Start sewing on that, and that'll advance, and that'll make this part a little bit smoother right here. So I'm looking right inside the window. I'm just inside my seam allowance right there as I go down, and then I'll just keep moving, and I'll use that same visual space right there. I want to be just inside that seam. So the very tip right there of my spacing gauge is where the needle should be, and it's about, I don't know, 1/16 of an inch inside right there. And then we'll just move down and we'll check it one more time. Okay, so let's cut that, and we'll pull that up so you can see it. I won't show you the end where it's messy because I have to rip that out. Can you see it? Isn't that nice? So I didn't have to hand sew anything, and I didn't have to make any changes to my machine at all. So let's flip it over. This is what we have on the back. It looks great, don't you think? That's a really, really clean sort of a top stitch look, and we were able to get both of those done very quickly. Now here's the picky piece for me. I want this closed right here for sure. I don't like that it doesn't look the same on this side. I find that annoying, very annoying. So what am I going to do? I am going to top stitch it on the other side. So let's use our little scrappy bit right here that we just showed you. And we'll just sew down that, and we'll butt that right up against it. See, I didn't show you this before, but I guess I should have, because this is what I mean. You're going to use a little leader, and then, oh, darn it, hang on, I just dropped something. I dropped my key, he fell down. All right, here we go. So let's put this on. All right, and these guys are going to help us. So we kind of have to get ourselves lined up on this side again. And we'll get in close, and then we'll adjust our spacing, right? We don't know exactly where we need to be. So we'll kind of let this be our little bump right there. Where's our little stitch finger? Oh, perfect. There we go. Actually, I think that's kind of a good alignment. So let's check it. We just want our spacing gauge to cross over right there for sure. You can even see that the line is right here inside of this cover sashing right there. So make sure that I'm pressing on this side. I think it's not as easy right here because this is where all the bulk is. So we'll just sew down. And then same thing, get it lined up so it's the correct spacing. Just like that, just like how we had it. And we're touching right there. So you could line up all of your pieces that require this and just stitch them all in a row. And that's the part that I really like, is that you're going to be able to just stitch everything. You won't have to worry about anything. You won't have to change threads. You can just make it match just one of them. And you can sew all of the pieces completely on